Breaking news here in the Tampa Bay area. Former Tampa Bay Buccaneer wide receiver Vincent Jackson found dead in a hotel room in Brandon. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office confirming the news in a release moments ago. The 38-year-old found dead in a hotel room, again, here in Brandon, Florida. JB Buno here with you live in the WFLA Now Stream Center. Sad news to pass along here just a week or so after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning Super Bowl 55, losing one of their own. A member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers family found dead here at the young age of 38 years old. You're looking here at some of the photos of the Tampa Bay Buccaneer career of Vincent Jackson, who again was found dead in a hotel room in Brandon, Florida. The actual hotel, the Homewood Suites, located on Palm River Road in Brandon, Florida. We're going to get to the very latest with what we know now here on this particular story. Now, according to hotel staff, Jackson, who is a Tampa resident, a South Tampa resident, checked into the hotel back on January 11th of this past month. So about 34 days ago, roughly, Vincent Jackson checked into a hotel in Brandon, Florida. Again, that hotel being the Homewood Suites on Palm River Road in Brandon. Despite the fact that he lived in South Tampa, was a resident of South Tampa. Now, members of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office spoke with Jackson's family members on February 10th. That was 5 days ago, and they called to report that he was missing. And a formal missing persons report was filed the very next day on February 11th. The following day, February 12th, 2 days after the family initially called to report him missing, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office located Jackson. They found him at the hotel at the Homewood Suites, and they spoke with him. They made contact with him at that hotel in Brandon. And after assessing his well-being, according to the release here by deputies, a missing persons case was then canceled. Jackson was found dead on February 15th this morning, 11:30 this morning, by his hotel room housekeeper. There are no apparent signs of trauma. The Hillsborough County Medical Examiner's Office will determine the cause of death, as well as officially identify Jackson's remains based on dental or DNA records. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office has notified Jackson's next of kin of passing. I'm going to read here a note here from Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Chronister, but I want to point out something here to our audience joining us here live on WFLA Now. Vincent Jackson is somebody that we have worked with here at WFLA, somebody who has become very integral, a major part of the Tampa Bay community, the Tampa Bay family, after his many playing seasons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, he played with the Chargers, the franchise that was originally in San Diego, of course, now in Los Angeles. A great wide receiver, a wide receiver standout for the Chargers, came over here, continued playing at a high level for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, of course, his career came to an end earlier in previous seasons here. I don't have his exact game, his season by season up here in front of me here, folks. But again, just 38 years old. I mean, we're talking about Tom Brady, who was just playing into his age 43 season. Vincent Jackson, who has been retired now for several seasons, is only 38 years of age, at the time of his death. This is somebody who has meant a lot to the Tampa Bay community, who we have worked with here specifically at WFLA. We've had him on the air many a times here at WFLA. And now, of course, being a South Tampa resident and now being found dead here at a hotel room in Brandon, Florida. So I'm going to read here the release, the quote that we have from Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Chronister. "My heart aches for the many loved ones Vincent Jackson leaves behind, from his wife and his children to the Buccaneers nation that adored him. Mr. Jackson was a devoted man who put his family and community above everything else. Football aside, he touched countless lives through his Jackson in Action 83 Foundation. We shared a passion for supporting military families, and 3 years ago, Jackson was even made an honorary deputy by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office to recognize his dedication to the community. He'll be sorely missed by not only football fans across the country, but also the people here in Hillsborough County who reap the benefits of his generous contributions." End quote from Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Chronister. The release concludes with the following two statements. This remains an active and open investigation. Any further updates will come from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. So again, this is a heartbreaking loss for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers family, for the entire Tampa Bay area. Somebody who gave so much of his post-playing career to the Tampa Bay area. Again, we had Vincent Jackson on WFLA. We had, of course, a great rapport with him. He is somebody that, as we understand, was just so easy to work with and meant so much here to the Tampa Bay community. Let's go through what we do know and what we don't know. Clearly, what we don't know is the cause of death here. This is very sudden, very abrupt. If you were a fan of those Tampa Bay Buccaneers teams in the 2010s, you know, roughly, let's bring up he joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2012. And he played 5 seasons with the Tampa Bay Bucks, retiring after just a 5-game stint with the Bucks in 2016. So he hasn't been in the NFL now in roughly 5 seasons, but he only played for 2 teams in his career, the then San Diego Chargers, and then, of course, coming over to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he was an outstanding player, an outstanding contributor. In his first season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he amassed 1,384 yards in 16 games played. He played every game for the Bucks from 2012 to 2014. So he meant a lot on the field. He meant a lot off the field, of course, to the Tampa Bay area. He would go on to announce his retirement formally in 2018. And then, of course, with all of his various charitable work here in the Tampa Bay area. So we know, of course, what he meant to the area. What we don't know at this time, as far as the facts of the case at the moment, we don't know the cause of death. But let's go through the timeline here as to what we know from the release from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office here, folks. Jackson is a South Tampa resident, has lived here, as I understand it, from basically the time he joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to his retirement, and then, of course, his post-playing career. He has had a residence here in the Tampa Bay area, living in South Tampa. And then, of course, with his Jackson in Action 83 Foundation, being able to do the charitable work that he wanted to do, contribute to the game, both in an NFL capacity and also just off the field as well, being able to do all the things that he wanted to do here in the Tampa Bay area. He was a resident of South Tampa. Despite the fact that he was a resident of South Tampa, on January 11th, he checked into a hotel room in Brandon. For those of you unfamiliar with the lay of the land, Brandon, another city here in the Tampa Bay area, checked into this Homewood Suites on Palm River Road in Brandon on January 11th. So that's roughly 5 weeks ago, and roughly a full month before the Super Bowl festivities. Keep in mind that with Tampa being the host city for the Super Bowl, this brought a lot of folks together here from previous Tampa Bay Buccaneer teams and from previous rosters, and to celebrate, again, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers making it to the Super Bowl, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers being the first team in NFL history to play on their home field in the ultimate showcase for the NFL, the Super Bowl. So he was, for the duration of the build-up to Super Bowl 55, he had checked into a hotel room, again, January 11th, 5 weeks ago, in Brandon, Florida. It was then on February 10th, the Hillsborough County, February 10th, so now we're going to just this week, really this past week, February 10th, members of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, they spoke with Jackson's family, and they said that he was missing. A formal report was then filed on February 11th. A missing persons report centered on Jackson was then filed the very next day, February 11th, looking for the 38-year-old. The following day, now one day after that report was filed, on February 12th, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office found Jackson. They found him at this hotel. He was at the Homewood Suites, and they spoke to him there. And after assessing his well-being, they canceled the missing persons case. 3 days later, that being today, February 15th, a housekeeper goes into the hotel room there that Jackson was in, and he was found dead. So 3 days after the missing persons report was canceled, and after the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office established that Jackson was alive and well, and they were able to establish his well-being there at the at the Homewood Suites there in Brandon, 3 days after that, he's found dead in that same hotel room. So now it becomes a situation of what transpired there in that hotel room, what contributed to Vincent Jackson's death. I'm going to read these notes here very clearly for those of you who just joined us and maybe missed my initial read here of this press release a little bit earlier, but the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office say very specifically here, there are no apparent signs of trauma, and this remains an active and open investigation. The Hillsborough County Medical Examiner's Office will determine the cause of death, as well as officially identify Jackson's remains based on dental or DNA records. And the next of kin, Jackson's family, has been notified, of course, that the 38-year-old has died, and the cause of death at this time is still unknown at this time. But centered around here, this hotel room, this hotel at Homewood Suites on Palm River Road in Brandon. Again, a South Tampa resident staying at a hotel here in the Tampa Bay area. The reasons for which he was staying at a hotel in the community in which he lived, of course, being a resident of South Tampa and staying at a hotel in Brandon over the course of the Super Bowl itself. Brandon, a bit of a ways away from Tampa itself. You're looking at the Tampa Bay area. Brandon, of course, if you live in South Tampa, you're really centrally located to everything that's going on that's Super Bowl related. If you're in Brandon, you're clearly a bit of a ways away, not too far away, of course, but there was clearly a reason that Vincent Jackson was staying at the hotel in Brandon. We do not understand why he was staying at that hotel at the time. However, we do know that this hotel room is the same place where Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputies spoke to Jackson, canceled the missing persons report because they were able to assess his well-being at the hotel itself. And then 3 days later, after they gave the A-OK, Vincent Jackson was found dead in that hotel room in Brandon, Florida. Again, my heart aches for the loved ones Vincent Jackson leaves behind are the exact words here from Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Chronister, from his wife and children to the Buccaneers nation that adored him. Jackson made an honorary deputy by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office to recognize his dedication to the community. He will be sorely missed by not only football fans around the country, but also the people here in Hillsborough County who reaped the benefits of his generous contributions. Football players, athletes, when they retire, many of them will go back to their roots. They'll go back to the community in which they are from. So many will stay within. Vincent Jackson was somebody who came to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, fell in love with this area, stayed in this area, continued charitable work after his playing career was over in this area. He meant a tremendous amount to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He meant a tremendous amount to the Tampa Bay community here. And this is, of course, an enormous loss, not just for the Buccaneers franchise, but also for all the people here that were benefactors of his charitable work, his generous contributions. As Sheriff Chad Chronister stated, this is somebody who did a lot to help out this area and give back to an area that was so welcoming of him when he arrived in 2012. We're looking into a whole lot here at WFLA News Channel 8. Of course, we aren't going to be able to ascertain the cause of death or find out anything about the cause of death until we have the medical examiner's record released. Of course, the report from the medical examiner's office. That could take some time. This is going to take probably a while, if weeks, if not a month or more, depending on, of course, how quickly they're able to conduct their thorough medical examination to determine a cause of death. We are not going to speculate. There's going to be endless speculation, of course, as to how a 38-year-old is in a hotel room at one moment and giving the A-OK to deputies, and then 3 days later is found passed away. There's going to be, of course, speculation out there. There's going to be no speculation on behalf of WFLA. We're, of course, going to wait for the Hillsborough County Medical Examiner's Office to determine the cause of death. And also, they have to be 100% certain and they are, of course, going to identify Jackson's remains based on dental and DNA records. So all of this now unfolding here, and it's worth noting here that this all transpired here over the last several days, and Jackson was found dead at 11:30 this morning in that hotel room by a housekeeper. So this is a story that is only 5 or so hours old. As of 6 hours ago, Vincent Jackson was the subject of a canceled missing persons alert, a missing persons alert that we did not know about at the time. We were alerted to the missing persons report upon notification of Jackson's death here a short time ago and the release by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. So all of this now a rapidly developing story, a rapidly developing situation, and there's a lot of questions out there and very few answers that we know at this time. Why was Jackson staying at the hotel in Brandon when he had a residence in South Tampa? What was the reason for the missing persons report? If again the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office were able to locate him on the 12th and canceled that missing persons alert or missing persons case after they were able to locate him and confirm his well-being. So many questions that are still being that we have that aren't going to be answered until, of course, we have new details and more information from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. I know that a lot of you here, I'm seeing the Facebook Live comment section here. I know that a lot of you are passing along your thoughts and your well-being and your thoughts and your prayers, excuse me, to Vincent Jackson's family. He leaves behind his wife and children here in the Tampa Bay area. Again, a South Tampa resident. And this is again a story that is going to if you knew Vincent Jackson or a member of his family, if you had seen some of his charitable work, you might have seen him here on WFLA. He had been on WFLA News Channel 8. He had been on our daytime programming here, our daytime talk and lifestyle show. He had appeared on that. This is somebody who was very active in the community. Again, some football players, some athletes, they will retire and they will find and they'll find solace in getting away, shying away from the cameras because they had been in front of their cameras under the intense scrutiny of course the sports stratosphere, if you will, over the course of their playing career. And a lot of players will just retreat from public view just because they had gotten enough of public view over the course of their playing days. Vincent Jackson was not one of those individuals. He was somebody who wanted to do more and was very easy to work with as far as from a media standpoint, whether it be for interviews or television appearances as a studio guest. This is somebody who really enjoyed his post-playing career in the form of giving back to the area. So this is going to be a lot of questions now as to what led to somebody who was so beloved here in the Tampa Bay community passing away at such a young age, 38 years old. There are, that's extraordinarily young, unbelievably young. I can try to answer some questions here in the Facebook Live comment section. We usually use hashtag HJB when we can break down a story, maybe a political story, or we can talk more about a sports story. But this isn't the type of format where we usually do hashtag based Q&As and hashtag based chats. But what I'll try to do is I'll try to look for some hashtag AJB comments in the Facebook Live comment section. Maybe Vincent Jackson touched you in some way or made some great gesture that meant a lot to you. Let us know. If you have a question or a comment, I'll read it out here aloud. And Caitlin Marie, hashtag AJB, do they have an estimate on when a cause of death will be released? They never really, if ever, release an estimate on when a medical examiner's report will be delivered. That is extraordinarily rare. The reason being is because you never want to promise something that is so fragile. So the medical examiner's report will be released when the medical examiner's report is complete. Medical examiners' reports, autopsies, the toxicology reports, these things, whatever is called upon, whatever is ordered, of course, takes some time to complete, and it can usually be weeks. It can sometimes be a month or months. It really depends on the complexity of the case. It depends on the caseload at the time. So there's so many different factors that will have to contribute to exactly when we get answers here from the Hillsborough County Medical Examiner's Office. See, look for a couple more comments here. I see Linda Falcone, hashtag AJB so tragic. Why do they need DNA testing to confirm? It's all procedural. So when of course when you have a death, there's going to be a confirmation process that has to take place to confirm the identity of the person who passed away, of course. And they're going to, it's very procedural. I read earlier that the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is going to confirm Jackson's remains based on dental or DNA records. This is mostly a formality. And he will, of course, they of course do this just because it's part of protocol, and then they have to be 100% certain, 99.999%. It just doesn't cut it, so they're going to, of course, be 100% certain based on dental or DNA records. Tracy Dunn, I see a hashtag AJB comment here in the Facebook Live comment section. What years did he play for the Bucs? He was a very productive player for the Buccaneers from 2012 to 2016. He played 5 seasons with the Bucs. The final season was only 5 games due to a knee injury that he suffered in Week 5 against the Carolina Panthers. His best season likely was as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. If you look back at his playing days in San Diego, he was a beloved member of that San Diego Chargers team. He played with the likes, as I believe, of LaDainian Tomlinson and Phillip Rivers in San Diego. I mean, those are some really high-powered offenses, but his best seasons came, and I have to check on that, by the way, as far as who he was playing with at the time in the early days of his career from 2005, 2006, 2007. But his most productive season came with his 72 reception season in 2012, his first year as a Buccaneer, when he was able to amass nearly 1,400 yards, 8 touchdowns for the Tampa Bay Bucs in, again, the 2012-2013 season. And at the time, I'm going to just bring up Josh Freeman. Yeah, so I wanted to confirm. It was Josh Freeman at the time was the quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Freeman to Vincent Jackson was a combination there. And his best season came with that 2012 Tampa Bay Buccaneers squad. Again, I'll try to give a shout out to some folks here in the comment section. Maybe you knew Jackson, or maybe he signed an autograph for you. Maybe you ran into him on the streets. He, again, a South Tampa resident here, so this is somebody that you might have seen at a various event. He was very proactive in the community. Avery Shannon Jones, hashtag KJB. Yes, he does have a wife and children. He leaves behind his wife and kids. Yeah, see, here's a comment here from Stephen Ray Miller, hashtag KJB. He's a class act. Met him in a restaurant. He bought me and my girl dinner. Chris Smith, hashtag KJB. I know people who played ball with him, heard great things about the guy. This is too sad. Yeah, a very difficult day for Tampa Bay and for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers family. Just a terrible situation here that has unfolded over the last several hours. Again, 11:30 this morning, a housekeeper went into the hotel room and found Jackson dead. This was just a couple of days, 3 days to be precise, after the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office made contact with him because he was the subject of a missing person report, and they were able to, of course, confirm his well-being, and the missing persons report was canceled. It's again, this is all very, very new. This is all developing, but they're based on what we're hearing here and what we're seeing here, based on the release from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, there was some disconnect between Vincent Jackson and his family, only because the family could not contact him. We don't know as to why the family of Vincent Jackson was unable to reach Vincent, but there was a disconnect there. Enough of a disconnect that the family of Vincent Jackson called the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office to file a missing persons report, even though Jackson was right here in the Tampa Bay area. So the Jackson family was unable to locate him and filed a missing persons report. And only a day after the missing person report was filed, they were able to track Jackson down to the Homewood Suites on Palm River Road in Brandon and confirm his well-being. They canceled the missing persons report because they located the adult in question and confirmed that he wasn't, in fact, missing. But Jackson's family was concerned enough to file a missing persons report. So this is the one sort of piece of information that we have that perhaps will become we'll find out more answers on here in the days, weeks, or months ahead as to why Jackson was reported missing despite being here in the Tampa Bay area. Why there was this unsuccessful attempt for his family to locate him safely, but the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office was able to find him and locate him and speak to him in person at the Homewood Suites in Brandon. So there's a lot of questions remaining. A lot of you are noting here in the comment section here, Jackson was a talent, an outstanding player, a really good player on a Buccaneers team that at the time was struggling. The early 2010s Tampa Bay Bucks struggled, to say the least. Many seasons of losing football, of losing records, and with various different head coaches trying to right the ship, pun not intended. But Vincent Jackson was a good player on some bad Buccaneers teams. I think it's safe to say. Again, came to Tampa from his very successful playing career in San Diego with Phillip Rivers. Came to Tampa and was very successful on a team that struggled to put points on the board and struggled defensively. This is a team, if you'll remember, had players like Doug Martin. Levante David was drafted in 2012. Of course, Levante David now a Super Bowl champion with the Bucs now. So there was it was Rondé Barber's final season as a Buck was 2012. So there was that overlap there where you had Rondé Barber and Vincent Jackson on the same team, two phenomenal players. And really, it's unbelievable to me. I couldn't believe that Vincent Jackson was just 38 years old. 38, incredibly young. And for him his final season was in 2016 when he was still young. He was 33 years old. Was his final game, or 33 or 34 years old was his final game in the NFL. Injuries, of course, contributed to that. He had a pretty bad knee injury in that 2016 season that pretty much ended his season, and then he would never play in the NFL again. Announcing his retirement in 2018, that he was unable to make it back to the show. So devastating news here for the Tampa Bay area. Devastating news for the Buccaneers family. So where do we go from here? Of course, we're working on this story right now on WFLA News Channel 8. We have reporters now being assigned to this story to not just talk about how Vincent Jackson died, but of course how he lived, what he meant to this area. You're going to see various reports on WFLA here in the days ahead talking about Vincent Jackson's legacy, but also finding out why his legacy came to such an abrupt halt here. This is somebody who was actively giving back to the community, and for it to suddenly come to an end with his death in Brandon, there's so many questions, and people want to know exactly what transpired. And of course, we're going to be working closely with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office to find out, ascertain when we're going to get more information, try to find out what the preliminary findings of the investigation are. So what happens when somebody is, of course, reported dead in an instance like this? An active investigation then opens up. Deputies will, of course, investigate the death of Vincent Jackson, and what they will attempt to do is put together an idea as to what happened. Not a confirmed, conclusive idea as to what happened, but what they will do is they will likely, at some point here in the days ahead, release preliminary investigation results. So a preliminary investigation is basically when a law enforcement team will begin their investigation and have confidence enough in an idea as to what led to somebody's death to be able to release some details to the media, release details to the public. It's not confirmed. It's not conclusive. There are so many different hoops that need to be jumped through, so to speak, for someone's death to be ruled conclusive. But preliminary results of Vincent Jackson's death, depending on the circumstances and depending on what what the deputies find out, what the investigators find out, could be released here in the days ahead. We could know something here tomorrow, Wednesday, before the week is out. Or if it's a more complex case, it could take additional efforts by the Hillsborough County Medical Examiner's Office to determine the cause of death. So we're gonna find out here, folks. But no one has an answer right now as to when we're gonna know what led to Vincent Jackson's death. There's no idea. It could be days. It could be tomorrow. It could be weeks from now. But the public is going to clamor for answers. With this being such a case that hits so close to home for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Again, Jackson was an honorary deputy. He was honored as an honorary deputy by Sheriff Chad Chronister just because of how much he meant to the community and how much he had given back through his Jackson in Action 83 Foundation. They're going to want to keep the public updated and provide answers when they have them. And so we're going to, of course, here at WFLA, stay very, very close to the story, monitor the story with all the developments that occur. But at the same time here, folks, as much as we are going to talk to our various law enforcement officials here and seek updates on that front, we are also going to remember what Jackson meant to this community. So that's what we're going to be working on here in the days ahead on WFLA. As a reminder, on WFLA News Channel 8 here in the days ahead, you're going to see stories about what Jackson meant to the Tampa Bay area. And then you might also hear updates as to where things stand currently in this active and open investigation. There's no evidence, as we understand it right now, no evidence or at least it was not specifically detailed in the press release. There's no mention of any foul play. The exact words were from the release: there are no apparent signs of trauma. That doesn't. What does that mean? When there are no apparent signs of trauma, that means that that Jackson wasn't found, collapsed on the floor with a gash in his head. He wasn't found collapsed on the floor where there was a obvious conclusion as to what contributed to his death. There are no apparent signs of trauma, and the Hillsborough County Medical Examiner's Office will determine the cause of death. That's what the exact words from the release there. So we don't know exactly what the cause of death is, and this is now an active and open investigation. Also, I'm going to point this out here. I shouldn't have to, but I want to point this out here too, because there are going to be a lot of folks here that are going to make guesses and lead to and contribute to gossip. You have to be very, very, very cautious of what you read here on social media, from our Facebook Live comment section to other channels on the internet, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, where people are going to say, so you might read a comment, I heard this, or I heard that, or I had a friend there's a friend of the family who has been saying this. You do not read anything into that. The only thing that we have right now to go off of is the official word from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office or the Hillsborough County Medical Examiner's Office. And that's that. When we have, of course, a situation like this, be very, very cautious as to what you read on social media. And even more than that, be extra cautious as to what you share and what you contribute as far as a narrative on social media. Stick to the facts. And we're, of course, going to stick to the facts here at WFLA as we continue to learn more about this story. 38-year-old former Tampa Bay Buccaneer wide receiver Vincent Jackson found dead in the Homewood Suites hotel room at the Homewood Suites at Palm River Road in Brandon, Florida, today, Monday, February 15th at 11:30 by a housekeeper, 3 days after a missing persons report centered on Jackson was canceled. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office was able to make contact with Jackson, confirm his well-being. They canceled the missing persons report that was originally filed by the family, who couldn't track Jackson down despite the fact that he's a South Tampa resident in a hotel room in Brandon, Florida, in the Tampa Bay area. A missing persons report was filed and then subsequently canceled when they confirmed his well-being. But after 3 days after they confirmed his well-being, a deputy in person at that hotel was able to confirm his well-being. A housekeeper went into that same hotel room and found Vincent Jackson dead at the age of 38. More details ahead on WFLA News Channel 8. We are currently in our 5 o'clock newscast. Our 6 o'clock newscast starts in 45 minutes from now. Watch WFLA News Channel 8 for the very latest that we know on the story. Any new details or information will be published on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. Thanks so much for watching, folks, and we'll have more updates here in the hours and days ahead.